So I hoped you liked that little movie clip. So talking about marriage, and again, I'm using the word marriage, but I do want you to know, right? It doesn't have to mean a legal document, piece of paper, right? It can be people who have a permanent life partner um, in that regard, just so that you're kind of aware. So with that, most people do actually seek this permanent life partner in some instances. And yes, I did at the very bottom include a picture of me and my permanent life partner, aka my husband, on our wedding day, as well as a picture of me and my daddy on our wedding day, which I find to be very appropriate that it is built in, because if my dad was with us today, it would be his birthday. So happy birthday, sweet, sweet daddy-o. Okay. So with that little bit of information, when we look at marriage, we have seen a shift in marriage based on societal norms over time, particularly if we're looking at industrialized countries. Over time, we have seen the age in which people get married for the very first time go up. So, right, data indicates that people are waiting a little bit longer before they get married, and maybe it's because they're trying to ensure that they have that stage 4 from adolescence, that identity component, right? They've really figured out who it is they want to be before they enter a permanent long-term life relationship. Also, it's interesting to note that when research studies have been done looking at marriage, it is correlated with lots of positive things. Again, notice I'm using the word correlated, which means as we see one thing, it is likely to see another. It doesn't mean that one thing causes another. So that's important, right? So looking at that, right, some of those benefits, right, when they surveyed or looked at the difference between married and non-married people, is that we see lower rates of anxiety and depression. We see people indicating higher levels of happiness, and we can kind of link that with the idea that they really have found this sense of belonging and attachment in a life partner, which is what is happening during this stage 5 in early development. Research studies also indicate, and again, I told you the other day that a lot of research is more traditional based. So most of the research right now is looking at male female marriage relationships. So I'm going to kind of specify that a little bit. And that is that men typically tend to benefit more from the long-term committed relationships than women. And the scientific studies show that. Later in our discussion of adulthood, when we look at older adults, we're going to have access to a life expectancy survey. It's already built into Schoology if you want to take a look at that. And if you are married, it actually adds years to your life expectancy because that's based on the data and the research. So things to think about when we talk about that. Okay. Again, Harding always loves to show data. So this is just information from the United States Census Bureau, and it shows median age of first marriages, and it takes us right pretty far back. And overall, we have seen an incline, as I stated before, but just a little numerical data to back up the statement that I showed you on the previous slide. Okay, so with that, yep, all kinds of thoughts Miss Harding always has for you guys to do. What I would like for you to do now is I would like you to take a moment, and I want you to think about this question, right? In your perspective, your opinion, what makes a good parent? And by parent, I don't mean the person that has the same genetic makeup as you, even though that is often the case, right? By parent, I mean the primary person that is responsible for raising another human, right? So in your perspective, right, what do you think that is? If you don't think you plan on having kids one day, then think about maybe what makes a really good support system for somebody else who is a parent, right? Like if you're interacting with a kid, what makes a really good grown-up mentor? That works perfectly fine too. Once you are done thinking about that, and jotting it into your notebook, go ahead and move on to the next video that's built into Schoology.